Hi everyone, it's Jerry. Another chess record has been broken, or really smashed, this time by the young Turkish star Yagiz Kaan Erdogmus. He crossed the 2600 FIDE Classical mark in the live ratings on August 18th, 2024, at the age of 13 years, 2 months, 15 days. The previous mark was held by American John Michael Burke. He broke that mark by a year. Really remarkable accomplishment. Let's have a look at one of his recent games from earlier this month. This is in the rapid format. His opponent on the black end here, Grandmaster Darman Sadvakasov. A brief game here, only a 14 mover, a dynamic and instructive one out of this Trompowsky attack. We continue with e6 and e4. This is the big center variation. White's prepared to give up the bishop pair in playing in this way. We have h6, and now white must take the knight. Trying to maintain the pin, it will be broken, and there goes the big center. There goes a big pawn. So, bishop takes knight it is. That's the trade-off. Big center versus bishop pair game ahead. Continue to develop. White's heading queenside here, this last move, aiming to tame the knight. Queenside castles. The duo is challenged. Knight f3, knight d7, and the tension is released on e5. Pop quiz here. How would you recapture? Feel free to pause the video. Okay, in the game, pawn captures pawn is played. In looking at the Lichess Masters database, something you may find interesting here, about 26 games played in this position, more than 60% of the time, pawn captures pawn is played, and this is a poor move. We're going to see why soon enough. The best way forward for black in this position is to take with a piece on e5. In the event of knight takes knight, yet again, take with a piece. There's a reason to maintain this guy on d6, as we will soon see. Okay, in the game, it's pawn captures pawn. Star move coming up now, knight b5. White's willing to give up a piece in order to invite the bishop in on the attack, pinning the d7 knight. If there was still a black pawn on d6, these knight b5 ideas are not in the air because these majors would not have direct sight of d7. Now, black in this game continues with king d8, a sad move to be sure going into a pin, but it is in fact considered best at this stage. What's the story, however, if black takes the knight? How is this looking? Well, what is black now going to do on d7? 3 pieces are on it, only 2 defenders. What do you try here? If queen f4, trying to trade queens, there's knight takes e5. Same story in the event of queen e6. Knight e5 is there. And now what is black supposed to do? You cannot maintain d7 anymore. 4 attackers, there's only 3 defenders, and you cannot add another defender of the d7 knight. How might this play out? Let's say queen takes knight here. White would be smashing through on d7, potentially leading to mate. That's one way the game can end. Let's say the king goes here. Well, you can exchange bishops and then simply track down the rook and be happy being up the exchange and a couple pawns. And one last continuation, I guess. Let's look at that one. That's not going to end well either. We would have mate on d8. So, poison knight. All right, in this game, it's king d8. Nice follow-up, queen a5 check. He knows b6 can be played. Why go there then? weaknesses have been provoked. A6, C6, both holes now. He pinpoints one of them. The queen has an eye on C6 and also E5. The knight is still poison in this position. In the game, A6 is played. If the knight is captured here, the bishop enters the scene again. This is still an idea. Knight takes E5. If black tries to get out of the pin, let's say king E7, there's queen C7. The knight's back in a pin. Knight takes E5 is another idea. Some other try for black in this position, let's say trying to shield the pressure on D7, that's not going to work because queen has access to C6, targeting the rook and the bishop. Okay, what's tried in this game on this move 12 is A6. Now this is a threat. White wouldn't be able to follow up and maintain the bishop, so the knight moves. D6 it is. This cuts off the queen from defending C6. Now what is black supposed to do about the C6 square? How are you stopping queen takes C6? Now, what is considered best at this stage is to take the knight, allow queen takes C6, allow this double attack. Bishop B7 is considered best here, and which bishop to take in this position, in order to determine which one is better to capture, probably best to look at the king positions. Whose king is safer? White's king is safer. Let's keep the queens on. Taking the dark square bishop would lead to a queen exchange. This is considered the best line for black, and naturally, white is better here, still with the safer king, and rub some material. Okay, this best move was not played. Looking at one other move before we see the move played in the game, let's say C5 is played. Here's one way white can continue. Knight takes E5 would be there. In the case of bishop captures knight here, we can take on D6 because in the end, there's a trick on F7 winning the queen. Similarly, there would be a trick on F7 in the case of knight takes knight or queen takes knight. Knight takes F7 is there. Okay, in our game, on this move 13, black plays king C7 to defend C6. About 3 minutes was spent on this move. Something big was overlooked. This guy here will forever be a tricky piece. Knight E8 ends the game. The queen is now lost, just like that. So, what'd you think of this one? Or really, what do you think of this new record crossing the 2600 mark? In my opinion, really, really impressive feat. What are your thoughts? Anyhow, feel free, as usual, to leave any feedback to this video in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed it and maybe took a thing or two away. That's all for now. Take care. Bye.